Uh-oh. Well, can't believe this. I've actually got it loose. When I was tightening it up, I had that big bar on it, and it actually could see it kind of try to tighten up a little bit that way. So it's opposite thread. So I'm actually tightened it up. So it's threading itself out of there. So this could be the first sort of look inside the mechanics of an oil impulse driver. I'm stoked. I'm so stoked. I thought I was going to break it, honestly. It was so tight. But anyway, let's get it wound out and see what it looks like inside. Right then, after the clip you've just seen of me lifting the top off the inside of this oil pulse driver, the actual head of it, this is about the third time I've taken this thing to pieces. Initially, when I took it apart and first looked at it, I filmed like half an hour video, all done, and I look into it and I don't know what the hell really I'm looking at, and I'm making guesses and getting loads of stuff wrong. So I thought, there's no point showing that. This is attempt number 3. In between, sort of, what happened was, quickly, is I got it all back together and then had a go with it, and this is what happened. Right, let's give it a bit of a test. Uh-oh. What have I done? Right. It's not working. Shit. Is it too much grease? Have I not got all the components lined up right? I've got to take it all to bits again. Oh well, we'll get to the bottom of it. So yeah, as you can see, I've put the new clamshell together. That looks really smart, doesn't it? I put the old sticker back on, showing its heritage or something. So yeah, that's all spot on. I got a new cover for the front. Couldn't seem to get it really clean, that underside bit. I might have another go at it, I don't know, because obviously it's back in bits. So what I'm going to do now is attempt to explain how I think it works and what I think is the problem with it. So, okay, deep breath. Deep breath. So the main body of the pulse driver is this bit here. Well, it's in 2 halves. So this is the front bit where the screwdriver bit comes through. These 2 bits go together. That's it. This is the bit with the 2 anvils on, and that just screws on like that. So that's the body of it. So obviously this is the screwdriver end, and then there's this fantastic machined bit of lathe or milling. Look at the craft in that. So these are the sort of 2 slots where, I'll show you in a minute, where the hammers sit in there. And then it's got another separate bit, if I can get it out. There we go. It slides down in a little port there. Other things of note quickly, down the bottom of here, there's a little grub screw that must be to adjust how much oil can come out of these little holes. So there's 2 holes there that go into the main sort of, not this much this bit, but in the middle of there, And there's another pair at the top there. So what does this do? Well, first you need to know what this goes on to. This locates in the back of here, like so, like that, and this is where the motor drives onto this. So when this bit is spinning, it's all spinning together. That's locked into like a groove there. So that goes into there. So the relation to this bit and what this bit does, you can see it's got this bit at the back of a connecting pin that goes onto the motor, but it's also got these flats, and then it's got this strange sort of shape with some like a long bit with a bit of a curve on the top. Weird that, isn't it? Now what I think that does is when that's in there, look, this bit is, remember this bit is fastened onto the motor and this bit's spinning, but it's free. The front of the half of the impact driver can move like that. So when this is like in that place like that, what happens next is, I'll just do one side. That's a ball bearing in there, and these are the hammers. So they sit there, and as this back bit turns, if I can get to do it, yeah, the hammers drop. I'll push it up again now. So that's on both sides, you see. It's like a cam, I suppose, the back of that. And it raises it up, and then when it skips over it, it drops back down again. So I'll put it back together a little bit more, and I'll try and explain about how I think it works. Oh, right, what we need to talk about as well is when I took this out, in the bottom of this bit, I had this very strange, yeah, it was actually glued together like that. So look at that, I hope it'll focus. It's like, it's a hollow O-ring, but instead of joining just in a full circle, it's been sort of glued together, and you can see it's kinked there. So when I took this out of the bottom of it, I just initial thoughts were, that doesn't look like it's come out of the Makita factory. It doesn't look designed right. Now whether someone's been in here and this has been swapped out, I don't know. Obviously I don't know if I can't buy one of these. You have to buy the whole head, bloody, you know, all that money, and nearly 250 quid for the whole body. But all I want, maybe all I want is this bit. So that bit sits in here. I'll shove it in there. Yeah, you see that? So that sits in there, and then it has a washer that sits in there. Let me see if I can get it in. You have to push them past the O-ring. There we go. So that sits there, and under there is this strange hollow O-ring. So what I think that does, the point that has got that hollow O-ring has got to be exactly right, or I don't know, it's like whatever. It's got to displace oil. When this machine gets going, I'll go into it in a minute, but it's got to displace the oil a little bit, and I think it sort of squeezes on them that rubber tube, maybe. So this is my best guess how it all works. I've got half of it back together, as you can see. And what I think, when you first run the drill and it's putting in a screw and there's not much resistance, remember all this is all completely submerged in oil, and I think behind there that's got to be full of oil. So when it comes out, when you start showing resistance on when you put in a screw in, it starts to try and push the oil somewhere, so this hammer can detract a little bit and skip over the anvil. But the oil just wants to be under tension or something like that. It only needs to push somewhere else a little bit and then come back a bit. Now that makes me think about this rubber. The oil needs to go somewhere, and it can compress that rubber O-ring, that hollow O-ring. Perhaps, I don't know. That's my best guess, but it's got to be. You know, when it wasn't working, the reason it wasn't working is because it was kind of doing this, just doing that. It was just clacking, and it wasn't. There was no resistance when the hammers go over the anvil. I'll try and get that a little bit. That's what it was doing. There's two reasons for that. I think that was the case. It's something to do with that rubber O-ring, and I don't think I had it full enough with oil. That's just a guess. But I've got some more hydraulic oil I got off a friend. Not sure if it's exactly right, but it's mixed in with the other stuff anyway now. So the plan is to try and get it back together and test it a few times. But instead of having that black washer in there, what I thought, I've got this from work. It's a bit of silicone tube off a boiler. And if I silicone the ends up and put that in there, will it be the same as that being, make it work, and that's the sort of making it fixed? Am I going to try and get more oil in it? Yeah, I am. So that's the plan. So I'm going to get it back together and give it a test, but I'm not going to put it back on the drill. I'm all back in the clamshell, I mean. What I'm going to do is going to put it all back together and get like a socket on there, and then put an adapter onto a drill, and then just drive it and see if it's working. We're going to carry on. See you in part, is it part 3? Bloody hell, sorry about that.